I know you got a lot on your mind and want to get that off your mind so you can relax and enjoy the evening. We've, of course, got the big showdown game in the SEC women's basketball. South Carolina, number one team in the country, undefeated, against the defending national champions, LSU, down at the PMAC in Baton Rouge. And on paper and in every other way you look at it, this should be an excellent college basketball game tonight for the women down in Baton Rouge. So we'll talk some about that. We'll talk more about what's coming up. Duke hosting Clemson on Saturday. The Gamecocks, they got their scalp of a blue blood on Tuesday night. Can the Tigers get a scalp of a blue blood? They had their chance against North Carolina earlier in the season at home and couldn't get it done. Now they get a chance to do it in Durham, and they'll get a chance to go to Chapel Hill as well. So Clemson could certainly use a big win over a ranked team and a team with the history and the tradition, especially at home, winning at Cameron Indoor Stadium for Clemson. That's been, of course, few and far between. And South Carolina back at home Saturday afternoon against Missouri. And I think the big test for Lamont Paris this week has not so much been since Tuesday night, the X's and the O's for his team, but mentally, because all these guys have heard all week long since they beat Kentucky is how good they are and what a great story they are and what great defense they play and what terrific team chemistry and a stretch of having your back padded as so much as they have. You know what? That can give you a false sense of security against a team that's winless in the SEC and a team that you did beat at their place, but you had to go to overtime to do it. So they need to be at their best as they were against Kentucky and as they were. I mean, I really think against Arkansas they played outstanding basketball. And then carry that on through the Kentucky game. So the Gamecocks are, maybe you say they're peaking, but this will be a real prove it to me kind of game. A game where you'll be favored, you'll be home, should have a big crowd. You're coming off that big win, and can they regain that focus and the intensity that they had against Kentucky? So all that's on the table tonight. Plus, we'll update recruiting for you. Mike Morgan will be here. He'll be on the call of that South Carolina game Saturday. Ben Portnoy, the Port Authority, will be with us as well at 7:35 to talk about some of the national things that have gone on this week, including things happening with Congress and the NCAA and things happening with Jim Harbaugh leaving Michigan and going to the Chargers, stuff like that he's been keeping an eye on. Chris Bergen joining us now from the Berge Palace over in beautiful Sardis, where the sun never sets. It's the city that never sleeps. Sardis.
It is wild and woolly over here in Sardis.
And it was did the lone Southern Miss fan in the stands last night storm the floor after that victory?
You know what's funny about that? I'm not sure Southern Miss had any fans at the game last night. I'm trying to think behind their bench. I don't remember seeing anybody in black and gold. So they, even if they had one, no, they had that game pretty much in control outside of the first 5 minutes of the game and the first 5 minutes of the second half when Coastal made a nice run. They were down 18 at the half and actually cut it to 5 in the second half, but just ran out of steam. Southern Miss is a fine basketball team. This is a team that won the regular season last year and maybe not quite as good this year, but they're very talented. And Coastal's just still continuing to scuffle with the changeover in coaching staff and trying to mix and match pieces and parts together. And it's just going to be, I think, unfortunately for them, it's just going to be a long rest of the season. And last night was just a continuation of that against a pretty good basketball team. And they get Georgia State in here on Saturday.
Well, look, you're a play-by-play guy, a great one, and you've done it for a lot of years at Coastal. So I'm not asking you from the standpoint that you're some kind of an insider, because that's not what you do. But you do observe and you are around. Where do you think they are in the search to replace Cliff Ellis? Do you think, just your opinion, not asking for you to dig into anything, in your opinion, do you think Matt Hogue has started interviewing or talking to people and getting some things lined up? Do you think he wants to wait till the end of the season? What do you think's going on there? Because it's been very quiet.
It has been extremely quiet. And I was thinking if Congress could keep stuff this secretive the way Coastal has, the way Coastal did with its football search when they hired Tim Beck basically overnight. And, Joe Mowgli had told us that's the guy that he had pegged for years. And as soon as Jamie Chadwell was on his way to Liberty, one phone call was made and that process was hired. I don't think it's going to be that quite easy on the basketball side. And my guess is Matt Hogue is probably behind the scenes, talked to some people, interested parties, and just gauging interest right now. And I still think, if they were to somehow turn the table around and make a nice run here the final month or so of the season, and maybe somehow find a way to get to the NCAA tournament with the Sun Belt Conference title in the tournament, I think Benny Moss would certainly be considered to maintain and stay on as head coach. But otherwise, I'm sure Matt Hogue has some ideas in the back of his mind. I just haven't heard of anybody.
Do you think it's possible for them to do that?
It's a long shot. There's no question. I don't think they're one of the more talented teams in the league, and they're certainly, after having seen Appalachian and Troy and Southern Miss, the teams that are right at the top of the league right now. I think if Appalachian State, in my mind, if they don't win the conference and win the tournament, I would be surprised. I think they are the most complete team in the Sun Belt, and I think they're capable, Phil, depending on what kind of matchup they would get in the first round of the NCAA tournament. I think they're capable of doing what, say, Furman did last year, and that's win a first round game and perhaps, advance to the round of 32 and maybe get lucky and get to the Sweet 16. I'm not sure they're much better than that, but I do think they're good enough to win a game in the tournament, perhaps two, because of their size, their length, their ability to defend. I mean, they held Auburn under 40% shooting from the floor when they played them earlier in the season up in Boone. So this is a very, very good basketball team. So I think Appalachian is by far the class of the Sun Belts, and I would be surprised if they don't ultimately win both the regular season and the tournament.
All right, let's touch on a couple of football things, and then we'll take a look at South Carolina, LSU. Then we'll get to phone calls, 888-898-2525. Here in South Carolina, Benedict College today announced the hiring of Ron Dickerson Jr. as their new head football coach. I think this is a terrific hire. Ron Dickerson Jr., the son of the former Clemson defensive coordinator from the early 90s. And he has got a lot of coaching in his background. He was also an excellent player in his college days at Arkansas, first as a running back and then as a wide receiver. Had 3 years in the NFL with the Chiefs and with the Eagles, played in NFL Europe. He's been a head coach before at Gardner-Webb. Didn't go real well for him there.
That's where I recognize that name. Okay.
Yeah. 2 years. 2 years at Gardner-Webb, record of 7-15. He's been coaching as an assistant coach at various spots since then. He's got a little bit of NFL coaching background, but mostly on the collegiate level. He comes to Benedict from West Florida, where last year he coached receivers and he was the offensive coordinator, and they were in the top 20 in both passing and total offense in Division II. So he is 52 years old, and I think it's terrific that you got somebody with ties to South Carolina. Now he steps in. See, you don't get a break in this situation because you're inheriting a program that's won, 20 in a row in the regular season, back-to-back really undefeated seasons in the regular season, and 2 league championships. It's not broken. You're inheriting a program that was fixed by Chennis Berry. So the fans at Benedict will be expecting you to come in and pick up right where he left off. That's going to be tough.
On a smaller scale, it's taking over, considerably smaller, but it is taking over in Alabama because you're right. There is nothing broken there. You just have to maintain, and that will be difficult to do because Chennis Berry did a phenomenal job. He wouldn't be the head coach at South Carolina State if he had not done as good a job as he did at Benedict. So Coach Dickerson certainly has his work cut out for him, but you've been handed the keys to maybe not a Maserati, but certainly a high-end luxury car. You just don't need to run it off the cliff. You've got to maintain.
Yeah. And to the Panthers now, and reports are this afternoon that they have settled on their new head coach coming from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Dave Canales, the offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach with the Buccaneers. Several NFL reporters reported that this afternoon. 42 years old, and he interviewed with David Tepper and the Panthers in person on Wednesday, according to Jonathan Jones, CBS Sports lead NFL insider. And the thing about him is they loved the offense that he ran with the Buccaneers, and they loved the job that he did down in Tampa with the quarterbacks there. Of course, making hello, hello. Isn't it funny when your computer just starts talking out of nowhere? Anyway, what he did with Mayfield down there to make him into a very productive quarterback, they kind of think he can come into Charlotte, I guess, and do the same thing there with their quarterback.
He appears to be a quarterback whisperer, if you will, because I think he's been touted as turning maybe Geno Smith around a little bit too when he was in Seattle. So, I mean, the guy evidently is a good coach. Pat sent me a text earlier this afternoon and said, "What do you think of the Panthers' new head coach?" And I was like, I had never heard of the guy until today. So he obviously was not one of the high-end guys that I think most NFL fans, unless you follow it extremely closely, and especially if you follow the Buccaneers, would know. But it appears, having worked with Dan Morgan, too, who's now the new GM with the Panthers, I think that was probably the biggest tie to bring him to Charlotte. And they certainly need somebody who can help develop Bryce Young. I think that was probably first and foremost. I think that gives you an indication they feel like Bryce is the quarterback of the future, and they want to get a coach in there who can develop him and develop the offense around him. I don't think they need to worry too much defensively with the Panthers, but good grief, they definitely have to get an offense that can move the football. So it appears to be a good hire, at least on paper. We shall see. The more interesting question, the Falcons have also announced their new head coach, and it's not Bill Belichick. Does, by the time all of this ends, is Bill Belichick out of a job once all the coaching searches are done across the league? Do you think he ends up with a job?
Yeah, that'd be hard to fathom, to think he's on the outside looking in after everything is filled up around the league. The Falcons ended up going with who? Raheem Morris?
Yes.
Raheem Morris.
They know.
Yep. I'm just seeing that story now. Falcons are close to hiring. What I'm seeing here from Jonathan Jones, maybe you're seeing something later. This is on CBS Sports again. He's saying that Raheem Morris and the Falcons are nearing a deal for the defensive coordinator of the Rams to be their next head coach. So,
yeah, I think it's pretty much a done deal once you start seeing those type reports.
Yeah. Falcons interviewed 14 candidates. Maybe that's a little over the top.
They wanted to be thorough, didn't they?
Maybe that's a little bit over the top. All right, and let's see if there's anything else I want to pass along. Real quick, let's talk about South Carolina LSU women tonight. LSU 17-2 and 4-1. Gamecocks 17-0 and 5-0. Much like South Carolina, LSU has annihilated most of their opponents. They beat Alabama by 20. They beat A&M by 17. They beat Ole Miss by 11. They beat Missouri by 20. They did lose at Auburn by 25. I don't know what happened that night, but they didn't show up, and Auburn did. The Tigers average about 92 a game. The Gamecocks 91. Gamecocks are giving up 52. The Tigers are giving up about 62. USC is shooting about 53%. The Tigers at 49%. Here's the big difference. USC is allowing 29.4 field goal percentage by the opponents to LSU's 36.2. Now, that's not bad, 36.2. The 29.4 is outrageous. And both rebound the ball well, 49 a game for the Gamecocks, 47 a game for the Tigers. This will be interesting. LSU is forcing 22 turnovers per game, and the Gamecocks are forcing about 17. So protecting the basketball against LSU in this setting tonight, that's probably going to be the key component for the Gamecocks to go in there and do their thing.
And that Auburn-LSU game actually a little bit closer. It was only a 5-point win by Auburn, 67-62. But what they did...
Oh, hang on. Okay, I believe you. I'm looking at the LSU notes. They have it 87-62.
Oh, okay.
You're saying it was 67-62?
It was 67-62, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not that crazy.
I remember watching that game.
And I don't follow it closely enough to go by memory. In fact,
I didn't think it was that big a blowout.
LSU's notes are kind of all messed up. Now, you look at the rundown of their schedule, and they say they're 18-2 and 5-1. But over here in the box where they compare with the Gamecocks, they got them at 17-2 and 4-1. So whoever did their notes did not
He needs a new job.
check.
That's that Bayou math for you.
Did not fact check their own notes. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But what Auburn did in that ball game, and I think it's something that South Carolina will be able to exploit, is they played really, really good defense against LSU, held them to about 42% shooting from the floor. And basically Auburn, just because they don't have quite the size to deal with LSU's front line, and certainly they don't have the size like South Carolina does, they basically told Angel Reese, go ahead and get yours, but the rest of your teammates are not going to score.
Mm-hmm.
Reese had 24 in that game, and that was twice as many as the next club. Morrow and also Johnson each had 12 apiece, but they virtually took everybody else out of the mix. LSU only attempted 2 3-pointers in that ball game. And if you're only going to attempt 2 3-pointers against South Carolina, you're going to be in big time trouble, because the Gamecocks are going to knock down probably 6 or 7 at least tonight. And I just think USC's defense turning it over and getting out in transition is going to be too much to handle. I just think South Carolina, in terms of just the complete nature of their basketball team, I think Carolina is just the better team all the way around. LSU may have the best player on the floor in Angel Reese, but I don't think she's got the supporting cast that'll be able to maintain. They'll get a big bump, I would think, playing at home tonight. That'll be a huge bump for them. But I think when all is said and done, South Carolina wins because they're just the better team.
Yeah. Kim Mulkey, she's in her 23rd season, 710 wins, 114 losses in 23 years.
That's remarkable.
That is strong. Multiple national championships and all that. Let's see. LSU has won 29 consecutive home games. They've scored 80 or more points in 16 games this season. But now, when it comes to matching streaks, okay, nobody compares to the USC women when it comes to matching streaks. Here are the current streaks for the USC women going into tonight's game. They've won 17 in a row overall, 50 in a row at home, 27 in a row on the road at opponents' home courts, and 2 in a row at neutral sites. So that'd be 29 in a row away from home. 36 in a row in the SEC, 33 at home, and 18 on the road in the SEC. Against ranked teams, they've won 4 in a row, and 11 in a row at home against ranked teams, and 8 in a row on the road against ranked teams. So those are impressive numbers right there.
And they've also won 14 in a row over LSU alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So a lot riding on this one tonight. Okay, let's get to some phone calls. And the phone number is 888-898-2525. That is the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number on Sports Talk. And I think it is, this will shock many of you, if not all of you, Gamecock Larry. Up first with us tonight here on Sports Talk. Gamecock Larry, welcome in. It's good to have you with us.
Good to be here. But I ain't too much worried about the game tonight. If we lose, we lose. But our record in the last 84 games, the last 84 games, you know what the record is?
What is the record, Larry?
83-1.
Oh.
83-1. Do you? Wow, 83-1. So I want to win, but if they lose, I won't feel too bad. It'll be 83-2 out of 83-2. So
I don't like that approach you're taking, Larry. I don't like that approach.
What's that? What are you talking about?
That's a defeatist approach. You should be talking about
confidence.
I'm not
You need to be talking about being 84-1, not 83-2.
Where's the confident Larry that we heard from on Monday about how they were going to whack the knee and shoot the 3?
Yeah, where's cracking the knee and shooting the 3?
This is reverse psychology. Whatever you call it. We're going to win tonight. I ain't worried about it. We're going to win by 17 points.
Okay.
We're going to wipe the floor with
Kim Mulkey.
Rick Flair, Kim Mulkey, Tyra, whatever you call it. We're going to mop the floor with that flashy Tyra she got on. Well, she ought to be shaming herself. Come out there with all kind of flashy stuff. The Ric Flair of the ladies basketball. But we're going to win by 17. 17. Then we'll be 84 and 1 out of 80. I don't know. And I feel good like a Gamecock should. We're going to win tonight by 17. And tomorrow, Saturday we're going to beat Missouri. That'll be 3-0. Sunday we're going to beat whoever comes to the place. Sunday be 4-0.
It's Vanderbilt.
I can really crow Monday afternoon when I call you, Mr. Phil. 4-0.
All right.
Go Gamecocks. Love all y'all.
All right. Larry, thank you very much.
I was disappointed. I mean, here's the guy who came in and coined the phrase whack the knee and shoot the three. And he was spot on about the Gamecocks rolling over Kentucky.
Yes, he was.
And then he's hedging his bet with the better of the two basketball teams.
I think, like he said, reverse psychology here. Let's go to Andy in Columbia. Red hot in the capital city. No better way to follow Gamecock Larry than with Andy. Andy, welcome in. How are you?
I don't know what Larry's got in his IV, but I could sure use a couple of doses.
I sure could, man. I tell you what, I bet you he could run a marathon with whatever they're giving him.
Amazing. First off, 30 days away. The Mets and the Cardinals open up spring training.
Okay.
Not that I have much to pull for my Mets, but, it's 30 days away for me to have more suffering.
Now, wait a minute. Where are we? You owe me for how much from last baseball season?
No, we're even, and now we have the bet for USC baseball that you're proclaiming as
well. I'll just go ahead and tell you. You can go ahead and mark it down. They will host a super regional this year. Okay, that's where they'll be. Mark it down. They'll host a super regional this year.
Okay, and I know that when I beat you on that bet, that you'll never pay. So
it's not true.
Just go in that direction.
Name me one person I've never paid a lost bet to. One person.
Me?
No, we went double or nothing till it got even.
A couple of years ago, you lost bet. I mean, you never paid.
I don't remember that. Sorry, I don't remember that.
I figure I gave you enough hard time that you don't have to pay. But just an observation. Carolina men's basketball. The past two games, everybody thought that this team would be hurting without Studi. I personally think that this team looks much better without him on the floor. I see more ball rotation. I see a better defense. I see better offensive play. Am I?
Well, I'll say this. Studi hasn't shot the ball quite as consistently from the outside as you thought he might. I will say this, and we got to go to the break, so thank you. And, Chris, you can jump in here. One thing it has done, not having Studi, has opened the door for Zachary Davis to come in and play more. And that's I think, probably a better overall athlete because he's tall and long and can handle and can jump and do a lot of different things. Maybe that's sort of a quiet bonus there for the Gamecocks, the fact that he's been forced to play more and he's delivered.
I think you're right. I think they're getting tremendous production. If you look at Zach Davis sort of as a bench player that's now been thrust into the starting role, Jacoby Wright, I think, has picked up his game a little bit. And Hank hit on this yesterday when we were talking about the Kentucky game. I thought Josh Gray may have played his best game in a Gamecock uniform against Kentucky on Tuesday because of his mass and size. I think they Andy may be onto something with the absence. You'd like to have Studi in there.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not like they've missed him for 2 games.
See what they do when he comes back, if he comes off the bench, maybe. All right, bottom of the hour. Be right back.
Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Muggy and mild with a low top of 63 overnight. The showers continue tomorrow morning with a wet drive into work and school. Our Friday high is 73. For the weekend, more rain on Saturday and early Sunday. Looking ahead to next week, we're cooler and we're clear with the sun returning. High temperatures for Monday and Tuesday in the 50s. I'm Cal Moss with your on-point local weather.
Hey y'all, this is Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. We'd like to invite you and your family to dine with us. We have a great menu that's sure to please your whole family. We have fresh cooked burgers, big juicy wings, blue plate menu featuring country cooking, oven-baked hoagies, fresh crisp salads, authentic Greek food like gyros, souvlaki, and baklava. We also carry 20 different premium cheesecakes and pies. Flight Deck Restaurant also has an arcade with 30 different games like Star Wars, Batman, Skee Ball, Bass Wheel, Pac-Man, Galaga, and so much more. Flight Deck, your favorite family restaurant. Thanks y'all and God bless.
With us on news on leaders reporting the nation's economy grew at an unexpectedly brisk 3.3% annual pace from October through December, as Americans showed a continued willingness to spend freely despite high interest rates and price levels that have frustrated many households. The latest figures reflected the surprising durability of the world's largest economy, marking the sixth straight quarter in which GDP has grown at an annual pace of 2% or more. Donald Trump is racking up Republican endorsements in Congress for his 2024 presidential campaign. On Wednesday, after Trump won the New Hampshire primary, the number of endorsements climbed even higher, a solid majority of the Republicans in Congress. Speaker Mike Johnson set the tone. He said it's past time for the Republican Party to unite around President Trump. More details at srnnews.com.
I sure like to brag about good local businesses. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning is a great local biz. Josh and his team stress customer service as their top priority. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning came out to my house. I had a toilet that wasn't working right, a garbage disposal that died. They came out right on time, told me everything they were going to do, and explained the price of each repair before even bringing in the tools. I knew exactly what I was getting and exactly what it would cost. Their prices are fair. Their team is courteous and professional. Plus, they did a great job fixing what needed fixing in my home. I am very careful about making any recommendations, and I'm thrilled and confident to suggest you call Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning for any plumbing needs. If it's a repair or to replace something, if it's that tankless water heater that you've always wanted to give you that endless hot water and save you some money. They unclog drain and sewer lines and so much more. Online, you'll find them at franklinplumbing.sc.com, or just give Josh and those great folks a phone call, 799-2222. That's 799-2222, and tell them you heard about them from here at The Point.
Are you willing to risk it all? The White House, the House, the Senate, total Democratic control. Because poll after poll shows that Donald Trump is the weakest candidate against Joe Biden. With President Trump's criminal trials and the liberal media's bias against him, we just can't risk 4 more years of Biden and Harris. The right choice, Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley crushes Biden by double digits, even in swing states Trump lost in 2020. Nikki Haley is a strong leader, a proven conservative fighter with real solutions to get our country back on track. Haley will unite Republicans and help them win up and down the ballot. Nikki Haley is our strongest candidate against Joe Biden. And with Nikki Haley, America can win again. Vote Nikki Haley.
ASC Action is responsible for the content of this advertising. Paid for by ASC Action, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. ASCAction.com.
Great things don't happen all at once. Big dreams take time. And when it comes to saving for college, it's those small steps that make a difference. I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 5-9 college savings plan, is designed to be taken step by step. You can start with any amount, contributions are tax deductible, and earnings grow tax-free. So why wait? Discover the smart, easy way to save for college at futurescholar.com.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Back we are, Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. Phil Kornblut, Pat Daniel here in Columbia. And Chris Bergen from the Berge Palace in Sardis. Phone number 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery. Lucky number. Tonight, College of Charleston going to play Hampton. Cougars lost 2 in a row, didn't they? Didn't they lose 2 last week?
They lost to Wilmington over the weekend, I know.
Yep. And they lost to Towson before that. Lost to Towson.
Wilmington's having a good year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Wilmington beat Kentucky, too.
Oh, okay. Well, that was early in the season. Of course, Wilmington is good.
Much earlier.
Appalachian has the early 3-0 lead on Georgia Southern as we get underway with basketball tonight across the country. Of course, really, in all the basketball, as I scroll through the schedule, in all the basketball, there's nothing bigger than this South Carolina LSU women's game. Let me see. Is anything out west? Any Pac-12 games of note tonight? You got Arizona, number 9, against Oregon State, but no, that shouldn't be. Oregon State's not very good. So, heck yeah, I'd say this women's game's probably the top thing on the marquee for basketball tonight. And they're going to tip it off a little bit after 8 o'clock Eastern time, 7 o'clock out in Louisiana. Pat, what you got?
Just a quick note, looking through LSU's roster, and just Haley Van Lith, I feel like has been, if you're an LSU fan, a bit of a disappointment so far this year. And I'm looking at her and just can't help but wonder if she might be a spark plug or kind of an outlier or wild card for the Tigers against the Gamecocks tonight. Almost overlooked. If you look at her, she's only averaging 11.6 points a game this year, whereas last year she had 19.7. So she's down 8 points from what she did last year at Louisville. She's below 2 rebounds a game, whereas she averaged almost 5 last season. She is a little bit higher in assists, about the same with steals and blocks, fewer turnovers. But she right now, if I'm reading this right, she is the fifth leading scorer for the Tigers right now. And if you're Dawn Staley's club, I think you got to go in and kind of keep an eye on her, because at some point she's going to start getting hers. And tonight you got to think the focus is on Angel Reese and some of those bigger players underneath for the Tigers. But Haley Van Lith is very capable of putting up a lot of points in a hurry out on the perimeter.
6 scorers in double figures averaging for LSU. So they do have balance up and down their lineup. And so South Carolina will be certainly challenged tonight defensively. They've been a great defensive team all season long, as we pointed out. So this will be probably their best test from that standpoint. A few other things to talk about tonight, and our phone number, 888-898-2525. Some lines are open right now if you want to join us. We'll have a recruiting report coming up for you. In fact, got a detailed story on Ryan Montgomery on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, where we go in detail with his father on where things stand right now. And I mean, South Carolina is in great shape with this young man at this point. I think if South Carolina were a national contender, they'd have him locked up, to be honest with you. You know, if they were a power, they'd have him locked up. The thing they have to contend with is the future. Can they make that sell that the future would be bright with you being here, that we'll have the offensive linemen to protect you and the receivers to catch the ball from you, to make South Carolina a contender in the SEC. That's what a guy like that is certainly looking for as he makes the decision. Our poll question of the week, we're up to 879 votes. Who do you expect to be the Gamecock starting quarterback game 1 this year? 91.4% Lenora Sellers, 4.1% Robbie Ashford, 3.4% Luke Doty, and 1.1% going with Dante Reno. Upstate, for the first time in their history, preseason favorite to win the Big South Baseball Championship as voted on by the coaches. And that is certainly a tip of the cap to what Coach McGuire and that crew did last year. Of course, he's got an excellent program going on there in Spartanburg, and they are expected to be very, very good. They got 79 of a possible 81 votes. So see how good they're going to be this year, and see if they pick up where they left off last season. Also, Clemson women voted in a tie for second for the ACC softball championship. In the preseason poll of those coaches, Florida State was voted number 1. Clemson and Duke finished in a tie for second. And let's see, what else? Jim Powell put out a tweet today, former co-host of Sports Talk. Yeah, he announced that he will not be back with the Braves in any capacity after 15 years of, at one point, being one of their regular announcers, then sort of, for whatever reason, slipping into the background, and he was used on a irregular basis, fill in and things like that. And now he is no longer going to be with the Braves organization. So wish him well. He said he'll update things on what he's going to do in the future at some point, and if he'll continue doing Major League Baseball or some other baseball, we'll have to wait and see. So there you go with Jim Powell, who partially cut his teeth right here in Columbia on Sports Talk.
I got a quick follow-up to a point you brought up about Lamont Paris and the job he's going to have to do of sort of bringing his team back down to earth. I think the one thing that probably separates his team this year versus, say, last year after they beat Kentucky, because you'll remember after they beat Kentucky at Rupp Arena, they came back and you thought that might be a turning point for them. And Texas A&M beat them by 41 the following Saturday at home. And that started an 8-game losing streak. I think the experience and the oldness, if you will, the veterans on that team, I think that's the bigger difference between this year's squad and last year's team. They were so young and reliant so much on G.G. Jackson and some of the younger guys on that team that they didn't know how to handle success. I think this year's team is much an older group, much more veteran group, and I think they'll be able to handle it a lot better. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to beat Missouri, but I don't anticipate them losing by 41 to Missouri on Saturday.
No, they shouldn't. You're exactly right. And let's face it, Michie Johnson went crazy at Rupp Arena last year. 26 points, a bunch of threes. That was just a freak win. When you think about the entirety of the season and what that team became, that was just a freak win. I mean, it was good for the Gamecocks, but, that was just a one-off. They weren't a very good team last year. They did not play last year with the chemistry, with the teamwork that this team plays with. Back-to-back games of 20 assists. Yeah. I mean, that's impressive.
It's impressive. Yeah, there's no question.
I think you can't, that rarely happens that, first of all, you make that number of shots where you got that number of assists. But back-to-back games against quality opponents. I mean, Arkansas on the road, Kentucky at home, quality opponents. So that's good basketball, and that's playing well together as a team. So that team last year just didn't have it. I mean, I know they had G.G. Jackson, and folks were excited about him being there, but it was like I pointed out last year, similar situation to what Georgia had with Ant Williams. You had the great individual player, but you didn't have enough to go with him. And he alone wasn't enough to elevate you. Ant Williams couldn't do it at Georgia, and G.G. Jackson couldn't do it at South Carolina. Williams, of course, now is one of the best players in the NBA. And G.G. Jackson's having some good moments in the NBA as well. Obviously, excellent players, but just not enough around them in their respective situations for their 1 year in college. And you really wonder, for South Carolina's standpoint, was it really worth it? Was it worth the NIL money? Was it worth it to Lamont Paris to kind of have to build everything around this highly touted high school guy that kind of fell into your lap after it didn't work out for him with North Carolina? And, you weren't able to build the same kind of team chemistry that you've got now. You couldn't build that last year for whatever reason. And maybe the fact, too, you got a brand new coach stepping in as well, made for kind of a perfect storm of breakdowns in trying to build that continuity within a team.
You think Jackson would fit better on this year's team? Or would there be a role for him? Or would they be as good and connected as they are if they had still a superstar type player? Because I don't think they have, they don't have an NBA lottery type pick on that team. But as a collective group, they're considerably better than they were last year. I mean, do you think GG would fit better this year than he did last year?
Well, think about this. You got a veteran group that would, probably take a young guy like that and grab him by the earlobes and say, hey, man, settle down, with all your social media and all your complaining and all this sort of stuff. Let's just kind of settle down here. You got an older group. Jackson was kind of thought of as the savior of last year's team. Michie Johnson had just transferred in, as I recall. Wasn't last year Michie's first year? Yeah, he wasn't there for 1 year under Frank, right? Did he play? No. Did Frank recruit him, or did he come in after Frank? Help me out here. But I think last year was Johnson's first year, I think. And all the others. I mean, they had a bunch of They had a bunch of first-year guys coming together. Not a lot of good veteran leadership like you see on this year's team. So,
right.
But I think this year's bunch, like a B.J. Mack and an older Michie Johnson and a Studi and practically, a Wright's an older guy, and they would say, hey, let's settle down and let's play within the team concept here and let's make everybody better than just worried about your own points.
And last year was Michie's first year.
Yeah.
After 2 years at Ohio State.
Yeah. All right. We go to the break on Sports Talk, and when we come back, we're going to hear from the new running backs coach at South Carolina, Marquell Blackwell, who met with the media last week as Shane Beamer thought he had a complete staff until Pete Lembo took off for Buffalo. So we'll hear from the Gamecocks' new running backs coach and give you a little bit of insight from him as to what he's looking forward to doing with the Gamecocks running backs. And then 7:05, it'll be Mike Morgan with us. 7:35, we'll hear from Ben Portnoy, give you some recruiting as well. And going to try and work in a little Mark Kingston action for you, too. Gamecock baseball coach met with the media yesterday. Eric Bakich at Clemson is going to talk with the media prior to the start of their practice tomorrow. So we'll have that for you tomorrow as well. Be right back.
Hi, this is Billy Downer from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Are you looking for a safe place to shoot your rifle or handgun? Did you know that the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources operates 4 manned ranges across the state in Pickens County, Spartanburg County, Richland County, and Charleston County? For more information on our public ranges, visit dnr.sc.gov/shooting.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. That's the sound of a big hit on you and your car or truck. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years, helping people who get injured in car wrecks and truck wrecks. If you have serious injuries, call Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968, or email me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. That's CORBETT. I don't get paid unless I recover for you. Jim Corbett Attorney, for your best recovery from a big hit, 803-765-2968, or jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
You put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Touchstone Energy Cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
When trouble comes like the accidents do, we all get sick and the bills pile too. There's only one number that can help see you through. And if you're healthy, here's what you should do. Call 605-7905. That's the number that you need to know. 605-7905. $0 deductible. What's a deductible, you say? That's the price you have to pay before the insurance will say we'll help you. They keep the number out of reach because they know that you won't reach that number because they know you're healthy. 605-7905. $0 deductible. 605-7905. 727 is the area code.
All right, South Carolina's football coaching staff, of course, going through a little bit of turnover. And one of those spots that has a new voice and a new face, running back room. Marquell Blackwell joining the Gamecocks after a year at Texas A&M. Before that, he was at Ole Miss, where he's credited with helping to develop Quinshawn Judkins, making him one of the best running backs in the country. Former quarterback at the University of South Florida. So he's got offense deeply in his background. Let's find out more about him from him as he talked with the media. Was it late last week? Late last week. Talked with the media about coming to South Carolina and taking over what appears to be a pretty talented running back room.
You've seen him kind of from the opposite sideline the past 2 years. What's it like going to be the coach, Rocket Sanders?
Looking forward to it. Great football player. Talking to him the last couple of days, a great person. Looking forward to him coming in and competing and getting his room to be an elite room in the SEC.
Hey, Coach Blackwell, Joe Manchik at GamecockCentral.com. So my first question is, it's rare when you can come into a running backs room that is fully restocked like this one is. How much did that entice you, and how much did that make an impact in your decision to come to South Carolina?
I've been in this situation before, 2 places ago, where everybody was in the room knew we had a pretty good season. So hopefully that, we got some luck in that happens that way. But just meeting with those guys and, just talking to them, really what we want to do is build a strong foundation where we support, take care of each other, make sure we're getting better every day, and doing things the right way. Looking for those guys to be leaders of the, first of all, being a great, leaders of the offense, and hopefully we can be leaders of the team, which will develop and being a special group, So just talking with those guys and, they look pretty excited. I'm looking forward to get going with them.
Hey, Markel, Pete Iacobelli with the Associated Press here in town. Similar to what I asked James, what do you want to see? What are people going to see out of your running backs when they hit the field this fall?
Tough, competitive group. Guys that's physical, making one guy miss and big explosive plays. But I always tell them every time before we play a game or as we go on through that preparation, there's 2 things we need to do to be successful. Because one, we must take care of football. All right, and the next thing, we must take care of the quarterback. All right, if we do those 2 things, we'll be fine.
Hey, Coach, I'm Hale McGranahan with the BigSpur.com. When you're evaluating running backs, high school level, college level, whatever, what are some of the things you want to see in a guy that you're trying to target and recruit and get to join your football team?
Obviously, you want to get a size, but we know we're not seeing guys, big guys. We're not being seeing guys that's smaller. But I think you got to have tough guys. At that position, you have to have guys that's explosive, make people miss in small spaces, willing blockers. And guys, ultimately you want a 3-down guy. And hopefully our room was full of 3-down guys. And like I told them before, I've been fortunate to coach a lot of good rooms, going back to my days at Toledo, West Virginia, had a really good group at Ole Miss. There's enough balls. We just got to do things the right way.
Hey, Markwell, Mike, you have a Gamecock Central. Oh, here we go. Man, I'm not the biggest guy. What makes you the running back coach that you are? I'm sure there's multiple layers to that, recruiting and developing and all that. But to you, what makes you you?
I always take pride in being a ball coach. Not just a specific coach. I've been fortunate enough to coach a lot of positions. I grew up a quarterback. So the biggest thing with that is letting them see the game through the quarterback eyes, from a standpoint of knowing what everybody's doing. It's amazing some places that, guys just know how to run the ball. You know what I mean? But if you run the ball and you know what everybody's doing, it tends to translate into really good things.
Hey, Mark, Jordan Kay with the State newspaper. Over the last 13, 15 years, there's not many guys who have been at more places than you. You're not new to coming into a room and not knowing anyone. How have you learned over that time to create buy-in with a group of guys you don't know?
I want to start. That deal was, if you look at it, it was a progression. It wasn't nothing really lateral. You know what I mean? And I say that because that's using recruiting. You know what I mean? But the biggest thing is trust. You know what I mean? Being around those guys, they have to trust you. The next thing is being honest and upfront. Owning the standard, understanding the standard, holding everybody accountable to the standard. The next thing is communication. We must communicate. I just went through it with a couple of those guys, and that's a big thing with me. I'm not a guy that's just gonna sit back and say, hey, this is the only way you do things. You know what I mean? You got a lot of different guys that come from a lot of different places that you got to relate a lot of different ways. So just being open, honest, you know what I mean, by understanding what the standard is and holding them to it.
Hey, Coach, being a quarterback yourself in the past, now being a running backs coach, there are a couple guys in this quarterback room that could participate pretty highly in the run game. They've got some wheels. Just how tempted are you going to be to maybe stick your head into that room as well?
I'm gonna stay in my lane, man. You know what I mean? We got some great coaches around here, and allow those guys to do what they have to do. My most important deal is making sure I take care of what I need to take care of, and just keep developing those guys and making sure, that we become great teammates. And if those guys do run, we're there to clean them up and get them up, pick them up.
All right, there you go. Some words from the Gamecocks' new running backs coach. Sounds like the real deal there. We'll see how he does. Gamecock running backs not been very productive overall last 3 years. It's been a while since they had a 1,000-yard rusher, so we'll see if he can work with the offensive line, quarterback, and get more production out of that room. I had a chance last night to look over the ACC football schedule that came out last night. Didn't have a chance to look at it while I was on the air, except for Clemson's. Found this kind of interesting. So there are 3 teams, Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, that do not have to go to the West Coast. Look at Cal's schedule. If you're Cal, look at this road schedule. You're going to play September 7th at Auburn. 2 weeks later, you're going to play at Florida State. And then October 12th, you're going to play at Pittsburgh. And then November 8th, you're going to play at Wake Forest. And on top of that, November 30th, you're going to play at SMU. Short of teams that have to go play Hawaii, has there ever been a team with that kind of travel schedule? Think about it. Consider Auburn. That's practically the East Coast, right?
Mm-hmm.
Close
Oh,
enough. So that's 1. Florida State is 2. Pitt is 3. Wake would be 4. That's 4 cross-country trips from Northern California. And then halfway across the country to SMU. I mean, that's just great. I mean, what are you asking of these football players? I mean, come on.
I mean, it's insane. And I am surprised, and this is going to sound silly, but in our modern era of the way, if you're still supposed to be student athletes and they're still trying to get a degree, and with the availability of doing school online, I'm surprised the Atlantic Coast Conference didn't look at, let's take Cal, for instance, when they went to Florida State, also have them play at Miami the following week and just have them stay in Florida for 2 weeks, maybe do, school remotely that week. And then they don't have to win. That would cut down at least 1 trip to the East Coast. I wonder if that'll be something they'll explore moving forward.
I bet you the players would vote for that.
I guarantee they would.
Even though you're from Cal, a couple of weeks in Florida, heck yeah, they sign up for that in a heartbeat. That is tough, though, when you think about it. That is a tough schedule. All right, we'll hit the break. We'll be back, top of the hour.
WQXL Columbia, W264DM.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. Trump White House official Peter Navarro has been slapped with a prison sentence for defying a House subpoena. Correspondent Norman Hall reports.
Peter Navarro, who was convicted of contempt of Congress for refusing to cooperate with the congressional investigation into the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol, was sentenced to 4 months behind bars. Navarro served as White House trade advisor under then-President Donald Trump and later promoted Trump's baseless claims of mass voter fraud in the 2020 election. The sentencing judge said Navarro had chutzpah for saying he accepted responsibility for his actions, while also claiming the case was politically motivated. His lawyers are appealing the sentence and conviction. Norman Hall, Washington.
Russian courts have jailed a Putin critic and a woman convicted of a blast that killed a pro-war blogger. Correspondent Karen Chamas reports.
A Russian court has sentenced Daria Trepova to 27 years in prison for a cafe blast that killed a prominent pro-war blogger, Vladlen Tatarsky. In a separate case, a Moscow court convicted a former leader of separatist rebels in Ukraine, Igor Girkin, of extremism and sentenced him to 4 years. Girkin had previously called Russian President Vladimir Putin a non-entity and a person of cowardly mediocrity. He supported launching Russia's war in Ukraine, but sharply criticized authorities for being inept and indecisive in carrying out the fight. I'm Karen Chamas.
A historic Connecticut church's soaring steeple and roof have collapsed, but no injuries have been reported. The cause of the collapse of the First Congregational Church in downtown New London was not immediately known. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 242 points, the Nasdaq rose 28, the S&P 500 advanced 25 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
If you're looking for a new couch, you could cut down on expenses by bundling your car and renter's insurance with Progressive. Because you know you've had this couch for too long. Sure, you've had good times together, but a ripped-up cushion is not a fond memory. It's a sign. Notice how other people have couches with 2 armrests? Now that's living, right? No, it's just normal. So bundle your renters and car insurance with Progressive and put the savings toward a new couch. Please, it's time. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided in service by affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Economic reports give stocks a boost.
Stocks closed higher on following signals that the economy is growing more powerfully than economists had expected. The S&P 500 rose 0.5% Thursday, setting another record high. The Dow added 242 points. That's about 0.6%. The Nasdaq Composite edged up 0.2%. IBM helped lead the market's gains after reporting a stronger profit than expected. IBM surged more than 9%. The gain at IBM helped offset a sharp drop for Tesla, which warned of slowing sales growth. The electric car maker's shares fell just over 12%. Treasury yields eased in the bond market after the blowout data on the economy's growth also indicated that inflation is moderating. Seth Sutel, New York.
Those grounded Boeing jets are coming back starting Friday. Air travelers will want to know if they're safe. The head of the FAA says he's confident they will be. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Muggy and mild with a low top of 63 overnight. The showers continue tomorrow morning with a wet drive into work and school. Our Friday high is 73. For the weekend, more rain on Saturday and early Sunday. Looking ahead to next week, we're cooler and we're clear with the sun returning. High temperatures for Monday and Tuesday in the 50s. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
As a kid, you dreamed of being a firefighter one day. Now, the opportunity is yours. Answer the sound of sirens. Live your dream. Become a part of a team, a family. Visit scvolunteerfire.org to find out more.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
We are back on Sports Talk Media Network on a big Thursday night. Those of you just joining us, welcome. You missed a terrific first hour. You can go back and listen to the entire show once we're done. Everything's put in podcast form, so it's there forever. That's right. Even when we are dead and buried and, returned to natural status, you can go back and listen to Sports Talk 50, 60 years from now, 70 years from now.
Creepy.
When we've
Corn from beyond the grave.
When we've assumed room temperature, you can still go back and listen to Sports Talk at many of your favorite podcast locations, including SoundCloud and Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, Pat Podcast, and every other podcast that you can think of. Speaking of podcasts, we welcome in to Sports Talk for another edition of Morgan on the Move, the prince of the podcast, the pontificator of the podcast. He is Mike Morgan, brought to you by, among others, State Farm agent Gary Patterson. For 35 years, Gary's been serving the real estate needs from Lugoff to Lexington, Columbia to Blythewood. Your auto, home, life insurance, and business insurance, they can all be handled by Gary Patterson. When Gary isn't refereeing ACC football games, he is spending countless hours helping South Carolinians with all their insurance needs. In fact, I think I saw him at a Wake Forest game take a call from a client during an extra point attempt. Anyway, he is also making a difference. That's a joke, people. He's also making a difference in the community. So go out and check on GaryPatterson.net today, and Gary will go over all the best plans for you and your family. That's GaryPatterson.net.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet. No hassles, no all-day runarounds, no ridiculous add-on stickers. At Love Chevy, buying a car is fun. South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Find new roads.
And now a man who has more sponsors and better walk-up music than Jimmy Kimmel. We bring you Mike Morgan. Morgan on the Move. Morg, how are you?
I'm doing fine. I like that Gary Patterson story. I don't know if that's true, but I think he should go with that. I mean, how cool would that be in the middle of refereeing a game on national TV? Guy lines up for a big kick, and there you see Gary in the corner of your screen taking out his cell phone and handling an auto insurance claim. That's a guy who cares right there. That's a State Farm difference.
Well, I was trying to keep it simple, but I mean, we can make it more dramatic. I was trying to keep it to an extra point in a Wake Forest game, but it could be a game-winning field goal in a Notre Dame game, and he gets a phone call.
Yeah. Absolutely. Could be 22-22 with the extra point. Could be the difference in a Wake Forest Duke clash of the Titans.
He could be like, who was the NFL player who scored a touchdown and then his celebration was like he pulled out his cell? No, he actually went and got his cell phone from the inside the padding around the goalpost, didn't he?
That was Joe Horn, whose son.
That's right.
That was Joe
Horn.
Whose son played for the Gamecocks.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Well, you're sounding good. I know you were fighting it a little bit last night going into your ball game, so I'm glad you're feeling better. You'll be in Columbia for the Gamecocks in Missouri. What about the win over Kentucky by the Gamecocks? How much did that resonate around the country?
Well, I had Kentucky the game before against Georgia, and that resonated because Kentucky looked so good. They were already the most talented team in the country, and then you add the Big Z kid who just went off, and one of the more amazing off-the-bench debuts I've ever seen. So they had the national spotlight. So when you're playing the team with the national spotlight, you have the national spotlight. And for Carolina to absolutely lay a beat down on Kentucky in front of a sellout crowd, that all of a sudden, I think that was the kind of exposure you can't buy. It was a game on a Tuesday night. There's not a whole lot else going on. And everybody wanted to see, and I say everybody now, obviously we're talking outside of Gamecock Nation. On a national basis, a lot of people were enamored with the Kentucky story and the Big Z story. And then what they tuned into was, oh my goodness, who are these guys? And, for those of us who've been covering the league and Carolina all year long, not that big of a surprise in terms of what they did. It's how they did it. I mean, how they dominated. I'm not surprised they won the game at home. I think if you're a good team, and this is obviously a good team, you can pull off an upset almost over anybody at home. But to dismantle and absolutely annihilate Kentucky the way they did, that was the surprising part to me.
So here is little old Lamont Paris against John Calipari, and he's 2-0 lifetime against him. That's I don't think anybody saw that coming when Paris took over at South Carolina, that he'd be 2-0 against Kentucky. Maybe last year was a one-off, but not this year. That was a downright convincing, well-coached, well-prepared win by South Carolina. But now I think, and you know the ebbs and flow of this sort of thing, because South Carolina is a good team, but it's not a super team yet. Maybe it morphs into one. They have got to be doubly prepared for this Missouri game that you'll call on Saturday. Missouri's winless in the league. They played a close game with the Gamecocks just recently out in Como. And if they're not on their game, if the fans are not there in the same sort of fervor they were on Tuesday night, they could just come out and lay an egg here, and everything they gained on Tuesday night will go down the drain.
No, I mean, that's a great point. Missouri had Texas A&M on the ropes just a few nights ago in College Station. In other words, they're going to beat some people, and they're going to snake bite some people. And if you're not careful, it's going to be you. So you're absolutely right. And to your other point, the brilliance of this coaching job by Lamont Paris is that they're not the most talented team. They're not even close to the most talented team. If you just base it on things like NBA, like pro type guys, if this were a combine, I'm not sure who on the roster. I mean, the Murray Boyles kid might be the most highly sought after NBA prospect a year or two from now. But that's, thankfully that's not what college basketball is won on all the time. If it was, Kentucky and Coach Cal would have about a dozen national championship trophies instead of the one that they have since he's taken over. What Lamont Paris has done is institute a culture there, the way they play the game. They do not concede anything on the defensive end, and they don't compromise their style. It's not always the prettiest. Just like if you watched Wisconsin under Bo Ryan, which clearly that's where his pedigree is. I feel like I'm watching a Wisconsin game from 10 years ago when I watched this Carolina team play. And those Wisconsin teams won a lot of games against teams that were quote unquote more talented. But the system, look, defense and handling the basketball, that travels. If you play D and you value possession and you don't just turn it over, that travels no matter where you are, and it's going to help you win games where you're not the most talented team. So I've said this on the ITG show Inside the Gamecocks, J.C. Sherbert and Jamie Bradford, part of the Chief Sports Network, which I know you're proud to be a part of.
Proud.
I've confessed I have a man crush on Talon Cooper. I just love the way he plays the game. I've been saying that for 2 months, and without him, I don't know where this team would be. It's not, he averages under 10 points a game, but if you really understand the game and you truly watch the way he plays, watch the way he defends, how he controls the game, 5 more assists, 0 turnovers. He's got either the number 1 or number 2 assist to turnover ratio in the league. That to me is a stat that spells wins. I think he is the most valuable player. Michi's been terrific. That Mac was a huge get in the portal. And, Coach Paris told me last year when he was taking all his lumps, he said, I promise you one thing, we're going to be very active in the portal and this thing's going to look a lot different. And it's exactly what he's done. And it's exactly what it is. And I just think it's a tremendous story. It reminds me a little bit of the 2004 team that came out of nowhere with no expectations and made it to the one NCAA tournament team Dave Odom had with Balkman and Kinsey and Boynton and Kelly, Wallace, and those guys came out of nowhere and went to the big dance. I think this team can do the same thing.
Hey, Mike, listen, man. You don't have to apologize. Real men don't have to apologize for having a man crush. Just think me and Larry Bird, okay? You got a man crush on Talon Cooper. That's absolutely fine, okay? I understand where
I'm
you're coming
okay
from.
with it.
Yeah.
I'm secure with it.
There you go.
I'm secure with it 100%.
There you go.
All right, moving along. Mike Morgan on the move here on Sports Talk. And, Mike, you talked about the commitment to defense. And I look at Lamont Paris and what he's brought to South Carolina. He's almost like a dodo bird. I mean, we've gone so far away to the other side where if you don't score 90 points a game like Kentucky, you don't have a shot. Well, what they've been able to compensate with is their ability to shoot threes. But I thought it was eye-popping watching his team and then him describe what they do during the game after the win over Kentucky. He said every timeout they had, all they talked about was defense. He has very little interest. He said his guys go out and hoop on the offensive end, but he's got standards to maintain defensively. In your opinion, is that style of play attractive, first off, and also sustainable, not just this year, but moving forward?
Well, look, I think the most attractive style of play for any recruit or any kid in the portal is they want to go where you can win. And, I think for a while there, kind of the bandwagon coaching hires, it's like, okay, which coach could promise more up-tempo than the next guy? Well, we're going to run fast. No, we're going to run even faster. And all that's great, except if you're just missing a bunch of shots and turning it over, that up-tempo basketball gets you nothing. There's multiple ways to be a good basketball team. And you don't have the talent at South Carolina that you do at some of the top 10 elite programs that are more suited to play that. I mean, it's not unlike what Steve Spurrier did and when he took the South Carolina football job. He changed the way he did things. He didn't run the fun and gun. He won games on defense. He won games of Marcus Lattimore pounding the rock 35 times. That's okay. A win is a win. And I think the DNA of what Lamont Paris does to win games actually fits very nicely with the kind of players that he's going to be able to attract at South Carolina. But again, the more he wins, like if they get to the tournament this year, and that's right there, that's a coup. Remember, this team was picked last in the league, not by me, right, but by the voters in Birmingham. And Phil, I know you were there with me. Mm-hmm. We had to fill out a ballot. I don't know where I had Carolina. I know it wasn't 14 or anywhere close to it. If they get to the tournament, it's already SEC Coach of the Year in my mind. If they win a game or two, a lot of people across the country are going to realize there's something good going on in Columbia. And I think a number of recruits will be attracted to that, and a number of players in the portal will be attracted to that. Not to mention, I've said this for years, when people talk about the Colonial Life Arena, it's too big, it's too this, it's too that. When this team is good, they pack it. And I expect there to be a great crowd on Saturday as well. And I don't think anybody was worried about the building being too big with 18,000 fans screaming in a win against Kentucky. And I don't think it'll be an issue on Saturday against Missouri.
Mike, there are 10 teams right now in the SEC within 2 games of the lead. I would have thought before last night that Auburn may be the best because they had not lost since Appalachian State beat them back in December. But as we approach the midway point of the conference season, who is the team to beat in your mind in the SEC?
Well, here's the thing, and I hope the fans take this the right way. You know what the dumbest chant in sports is? When you beat somebody that you're not supposed to beat, and I don't know if this happened or not because I wasn't there. I didn't hear it on the TV screen.
Overrated.
When you chant overrated. So in other words, what you're doing is you're just taking away from what you accomplished. The best team in this league is still Kentucky. That's right. It's still Kentucky. And Kentucky, quite frankly, has the best chance of being in the Final Four of anybody in the league. So take that for what it's worth. You just beat one of the best teams in the country, the most talented team in the country, the team that's going to have a load of lottery picks in the country, and you beat them up good. And maybe you'll see them again in Nashville during the SEC tournament. Who knows? But I still think it's Kentucky 1, it's Tennessee 2, it's Auburn 3, and I would say Alabama probably 4. And then 5 through about 13, it's anybody can beat anybody. I don't think there's a huge difference between 5 and 13, and I still think this league is wired to get 8, maybe 9, but I feel really good about 8. And I feel really good right now about Carolina being one of those 8.
So, Mike, before I transition real quick to NFL and some of the coaching hires, just had a quick soundbite here of Phil's take on his love and admiration for Larry Bird.
Don't be embarrassed.
One hunk of a man.
Just want to make sure I get out there. And so now with the NFL,
not embarrassed by that.
Nor should you be. Real men. So the Panthers ended up going with Dave Canales, the offense coordinator for the Tampa Bay Bucks. Not sure if they even completed an interview with Mike Vrabel or not, but the Panthers have their guy. David Tepper has his next guy. And the Atlanta Falcons over in your territory went with Raheem Morris, the defensive coordinator coming over from the Rams. Your thoughts on those 2 hires?
I gave up on trying to figure out what the Panthers are doing a year or two ago.
We all have, Mike.
I have nothing for you there. I really don't. But in terms of the Falcons, they clearly wanted Belichick. They missed. They clearly wanted Harbaugh. They missed. Raheem Morris is a hire that inspires no one. I don't know. I know he was in Atlanta for a while. I know everybody likes Raheem Morris. I know he's been a head coach before. But that is a hire that motivates and inspires nothing, with a fan base that is very frustrated and disgruntled, and a franchise that still doesn't have a quarterback and now has a retread as a head coach.
Mike, just to add to the Panthers, we've all been equally confused about that. In the entire history of the Panthers organization, there have been 9 head coaches. That's including full-time and interim coaches. 6 of those 9 have been under David Tepper, soon to be 7 out of the 10 coaches in the history of the Panthers franchise. Also, his Charlotte MLS team has had 3 coaches and is currently trying to hire the 4th, and they've only played 2 seasons. Just putting that out there.
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, he's clearly doing things his way. And, I know some people over there that used to work for him, but it's just a different deal over there. I don't know what the interest level is in most of South Carolina, because there really is nothing about the Panthers that says South Carolina. It's always been Charlotte's team, and they've had chances to kind of bridge that gap, but honestly, they haven't done it. It's everything about it has been Charlotte's team, and so as I come here to Columbia and I kind of feel the culture a little bit, I don't see a whole lot of people gung ho on Panther football. I mean, so that's part of the issue in itself. Is are they really connecting with a fan base across the state line? It's not that far away, but there are other options. I mean, a lot of the people around here, the older fans are Falcon fans or Washington fans, and some of the newer fans have adopted other teams. I wonder if they can ever kind of get to reach their tentacles out to South Carolina and be more of the team for here. Because in the meantime, I'm not sure if the fan base is overly concerned about who they hire.
Yeah, I don't think they're that concerned about the fan base here in South Carolina. We're so tied up with the Gamecocks and the Tigers anyway. They would be, the Panthers would be, third on the totem pole at best, and maybe even lower than that behind some of the other schools. But certainly not touching Clemson in South Carolina during football season. You're already in town, I take it?
Excuse me. Yes, I am in town.
You can hear the recruiting report live while you're in town. So
sweet.
Get ready. I got a report. I got an offer going out to a 27 cornerback that we'll be talking about. Yeah. So get ready for that.
That is down to, from what I understand, if I read your newsletter correctly, South Carolina, North Carolina, East Carolina, Western Carolina, South Carolina State, South Carolina Upstate, Charleston Southern, North Carolina State, North Carolina Upstate, South Carolina Upstate, Coastal Carolina. That's what I heard. That's what I read. Could be wrong.
Well, he's dropping a top 25 in about 2 weeks. So,
okay.
Well,
brought to you by Seawells. Don't forget that.
Brought to you by Seawells. That's right. Hey, it's
too
bad you're not. You didn't come. Well, Seawells is closed tomorrow for a private event. So today was roast beef Friday on a Thursday. So you missed that. So maybe next time in town.
I'm going to hit my man Billy over at D's Wings off of Meeting Street. That's whenever I come back in town. You got a couple of staples. You got D's, you got Salsarita. So I make sure to hit those 2 to get some good grub. I can't get that in Atlanta.
No, you can't. Columbia has things that you just can't get in Atlanta. That's for sure. Mike,
very true.
You have hey, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll come by and wave at you if they let me on the floor. And then we'll just go from there.
Well, that would be Saturday, but I would love to see you tomorrow anyway.
I mean, Saturday, yeah. But keep in mind this, too. Here's the other thing. There's a basketball game tomorrow. I mean, Saturday. There is a basketball game. But probably, more importantly, at halftime, Shane Beamer is going to introduce the newest members of the football team, the guys that joined the program at the midterm. And then he's going to talk to the media for a few minutes afterwards back in the bowels of the Colonial Life Arena. So in other words, the media will miss about the first 10 minutes of the second half. So,
well, I'm sorry to hear that, but if they want, they can go back and watch the DVR, and we'll still keep calling the game even when Shane's talking.
You think you'll have Shane on live television on Saturday, maybe?
If he wants to, we've done coaches interviews before. We've had several on. You know, it really depends. I don't want to cut into his valuable time. He's got a press conference. There's a lot of stuff going on. But if we can't get him, we'll get you instead.
I'm always available.
We look forward to
always
that.
Available. Or Teddy Hefner.
I think America needs more corn.
I can get Teddy for you now. Teddy Hefner's available.
We'll just be happy if Teddy can make it to the arena.
Okay. I'll see you Saturday, if not tomorrow.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. Sounds good. See you guys.
Mike Morgan on the move. Took up the better part of that half hour. We appreciate that. Great stuff from Mike. Glad to have him with us. Glad to know he's feeling a little bit better after fighting through it last night in Gainesville. But that's what the big ones do. They fight through it. The big ones, they
At least
get
they didn't
through
have
it.
to deal with a light delay like they ended up in Auburn, Alabama last night.
How
Did you
about
see
that?
where the lights went
did.
off?
Yeah.
Coleman Coliseum.
Mm-hmm. They paid the bill on time. The power company wouldn't shut them off like that. Let's update a couple things. Basketball. It is the College of Charleston leading at Hampton 26-23. You got 6:55 to play in the first half there. Of course, South Carolina women, LSU women, they tip it off at 8 o'clock. And second round of the Farmers Insurance Open San Diego. They're playing it at Torrey Pines, and they're playing both courses, the North Course and the South Course there. Your leader after 2 rounds, Stefan Jaeger, 12 under par after a 64. Nikolai Hygard, 11 under par, 66 for him today. Thomas Detry, a 68. He's at 10 under par. Matthew Pavon, a 65. He's at 10 under par. Tony Finau, a 66. He's at 9 under. Michael Kim, a 68. He's at 9 under. Locally, Carson Young, a 69, 5 under. Ben Martin, a 67, 4 under. And Andrew Novak, 71. He's 2 under. Matt Neesmith, a 77. He's at even. Michael Block, 76. He's at +1. Looks like the cuts. I guess there is a cut on this one. Or is this going to be another 54 hole? No, this is a 36 hole. The cuts -3. -3 on this one.
And is this influenced by the NFC and AFC championship games on Sunday? Is that why they are going to be done by Saturday?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they moved it up a day. Started yesterday.
What the NFL does, isn't it?
Well, I mean, they
golf tournament.
They're seeing where the individual games are getting 40 million viewers.
Oh, I know.
For the playoffs, and right now, and they realize we'll be certainly overlooked going up against whatever NFL game we'd be going up against. So that's probably a smart move on their part. But I look at those numbers with a bit of a jaundiced eye. I mean, you're going to tell me. I mean, I get it. I guess people love football. 40+ million for a non-Super Bowl broadcast. I still say a lot of that has to do now with the gambling aspect of it and the ease of gambling, live gambling, et cetera, et cetera. It's got to be drawing in these big numbers. All right, we'll hit the break. Be back in just a moment.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Muggy and mild with a low temp of 63 overnight. The showers continue tomorrow morning with a wet drive into work and school. Our Friday high is 73. For the weekend, more rain on Saturday and early Sunday. Looking ahead to next week, we're cooler and we're clear with the sun returning. High temperatures for Monday and Tuesday in the 50s. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Hey, who wants to make a resolution they can keep? Let's resolve to eat better pizza. Come on, you can do it with the Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers. Let's start slow with the crust. We'll hand toss that spring water dough just for you. Then add the freshest ingredients and serve it hot. Now, lift it. You're doing it. It's a change of pizza lifestyle. Happy New You from the Mellow Mushroom in the Vista and on Sunset in Lexington.
With SRN News, I'm Peters reporting a bipartisan Senate deal to pair border enforcement measures and Ukraine aid faces potential collapse. Senate Republicans are increasingly wary of an election year compromise that Donald Trump, the likely Republican presidential nominee, is calling meaningless. Senate negotiators have been striving for weeks on a carefully negotiated compromise on border and immigration policy. The Minnesota legislature has kicked off debate on whether to join the list of states that allows physician-assisted suicide. The House Health Committee took the unusual step Thursday of giving the bill a hearing even before the legislative session formally convenes February 12th. The lead sponsor, Democrat Mike Freiberg of Golden Valley, said at a news conference that he's confident it will pass at least the state house this year. More details at srnnews.com.
Great things don't happen all at once. Big dreams take time. And when it comes to saving for college, it's those small steps that make a difference. I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 5 to 9 college savings plan, is designed to be taken step by step. You can start with any amount, contributions are tax deductible, and earnings grow tax free. So why wait? Discover the smart, easy way to save for college at futurescholar.com.
I've gone from being the skeptic to now emphatically endorsing the idea of solar power for your home or business. But make no mistake, my skepticism was legit because there's only one solar company I've come to believe in. That's Broker Solar. They're local. They're in Lexington. They're not door knockers and high-pressure salespeople. So what about those questions? Broker Solar answered them. How much does it cost? Who gets tax credits? Why should I get a solar battery in addition to solar panels? What type of warranty comes with such an important investment? Kim, Matt, and the team changed my skepticism with confidence. I've been to their job sites, and I am in awe of how the technology has evolved. I'm so impressed with the workmanship from Broker Solar. I've talked to their customers, and it all makes so much sense now. Oh, and listen, these politicians, the media's attempt to guilt you with green this and save the planet that, that's not why you want solar power. You want it because it really will save you money. It really gives you control of your power bill instead of the power companies. Hey, find out more online at brokersolar.com or just give them a call, 807-7417. That's 807-7417.
As you welcome the new year, we invite you to celebrate with Palmetto State Armory, your go-to destination for all your firearm and outdoor needs. Whether you're a seasoned shooter or just starting out, we've got you covered for handguns and rifles, ammo and optics, and more. We offer a vast selection of top-quality products at unbeatable prices, and our knowledgeable staff are always ready to assist you in finding everything you need. Visit Palmetto State Armory today, either in-store or online, and let us help you make this new year one to remember. Happy New Year from all of us at Palmetto State Armory.
Hey, honey, I know you're taking some meds for cholesterol. I was reading that if you're on these medicines, you should also be taking some CoQ10.
Actually, our pharmacist mentioned that to me already. He called me the other day, and we went through each of our medications together.
Really? He called you?
Yeah, he asked if I was having any side effects, recommended supplements that could help me, and let me know the risk of mixing certain drugs.
Wow. I'm happy to know that True Pharmacy is thinking about us.
True Pharmacy, 1628 Charleston Highway, 3217 Divine Street, or visit truerxsc.com.
Thinking about investing in a hot tub? Great idea. Hot tubs offer relaxing hydrotherapy for tired muscles and stressed minds. But beware, all spas are not the same. At Jack Oliver's Pool Spa and Patio, we offer hot spring and free flow spas exclusively for their quality, energy efficiency, and affordability. And we have everything to keep your spa and pool sparkling, clean, and crystal clear. Come see it all at Jack Oliver's Pool Spa and Patio, Forest Drive, and jackoliverpools.com.
All right, time for the recruiting report here on Sports Talk, brought to you by our good friends at Seawells. We mentioned no Seawells buffet tomorrow. They have a private event going on. I wasn't invited to it. Were you invited to it, Chris?
I was not.
Yeah. Pat, were you invited to the private event?
I was not. Must have got lost in the mail.
Probably stuck in the mail somewhere. Just like the rent check. Stuck in the mail. So they're closed to the common man and woman tomorrow. But back open next week for everybody. So make sure you get over there from 11 to 2 to enjoy a tremendous luncheon buffet. And for the very best in the catering business, you just make that one call to Seawells. They'll take care of everything, the planning, the execution, and the cleanup. 803-771-7385 and online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. All right, so I had a conversation with the dad of quarterback Ryan Montgomery out of Findlay, Ohio. Name me two people besides Ryan Montgomery from Findlay, Ohio. Chris. Two people. Two people from
Findlay, Ohio.
Findlay, oh, you should know two people from Findlay, Ohio.
Boy.
Anybody. Pat, give me two people from Findlay, Ohio. Oh, no. Don't you be Googling it. He's Googling. See, now, it's so typical. So typical. Go ahead.
Now, I was going to say, I was going to let you go ahead and make your assumption before I said what I was going to say. What were you going to say?
Who, me?
Yeah. Typical of what?
Typical redhead?
No, because I did Google it, but only to then say, nobody's popping up, so I got nothing for you at all.
All right, I'll save you the trouble. Ben Roethlisberger.
Ah.
Yeah. And Lamont Paris.
How about that?
Yeah. He's from Findlay, Ohio. When they came in for their visit, they met with him. So anyway, had a great visit to South Carolina, according to Mike Montgomery, the dad, who played college football himself at Miami of Ohio. Of course, he has another son who's a lineman at Ohio State. He said they gave him the red carpet treatment. The thing about South Carolina and them is that amongst all the schools they're considering, South Carolina, more than anybody else, has made Ryan Montgomery the not just number one priority, only priority. They're not recruiting anybody else at quarterback in the 25 class besides Ryan Montgomery. And they've made that clear that they are just throwing every egg they've got into that basket. Other schools they want him, but they're also recruiting others. And they know that. They really appreciate how South Carolina has come at them as a one and only sort of target. And they've done everything they can from all their conversations, their meetings. They really like Beamer. They really like Dowell Loggins. And this is where Dowell Loggins, and we knew this would be the case, guys, his pro background really comes into play here. They love the fact that he's coached a lot of NFL quarterbacks. They love what he did with Spencer Rattler. When they came in for their visit, they did a FaceTime conversation with Spencer Rattler. That was part of their visit. And Rattler told him about how much he likes Loggins and trusts Loggins and how Loggins helped to develop him and get him to that next level, which he hopes, of course, will be the NFL. So all that is very good for South Carolina at this point. You can read the whole story on our website, SportsTalkSC.com.
Is that a smart ploy? I mean, even if you had a guy like Trevor Lawrence, let's say, and Clemson said, you're the only guy we are recruiting, and you don't get him. I mean, what's your backup plan?
You got one, I guess, but you just don't let anybody know it. You know, you keep that piece of paper in your drawer until you have to go to it, and you hope you have a backup plan. Of course, they're young enough in the quarterback room that, of course, you want to get a quarterback every class. They're young enough in that quarterback room with what they've got to not be hurt too much. But this is a special talent. This is a guy that threw for 7,000 yards and 80-something touchdowns last year.
Impressive. Last year?
Yeah. Let me make sure I got that right. Hang on.
Wow.
Wait a second. That might have been career numbers.
That's like video game numbers right there.
There's no doubt.
Well, all right. Now, yeah, I got to double check here. I've got under junior stats, 7,584 yards and 89 touchdowns. That might be.
That's incredible.
No, that might be.
I understand why he's their only priority now.
Let me double check that. I'm going to have to look that back. Don't hold me to that. That might be career numbers, and I didn't put career around that. So he did break Roethlisberger's career passing record there at the high school. So he's got big numbers, okay? I'll just tell you that. He's got huge numbers. So just to finish the story, from South Carolina, he went to Georgia. Of course, impressed with what Georgia has to offer. Mike Bobo's coming up to watch him play basketball this coming week. And he is going to go to Florida, not this coming weekend, the following weekend. He's going to take this weekend off Those are the three. However, there could be a fourth to come into play, and that's Alabama, because while Nick Saban and company and Tommy Rees and Nick Saban, they weren't recruiting him, DeBoer and his OC at Washington were recruiting him. The only problem was they weren't going to go to Washington. It's too far away. They like both of those coaches. They like DeBoer. They like his OC. So now that they're at Alabama, if they were to call, that would be something they'd have to look at. They haven't called yet. And he doesn't know if they will. And if they don't, that's fine. But if they do, then that is something that they possibly would have to take a look at. Now, they're going to meet in a couple of weeks around his basketball schedule, determine if they're done and they're ready to make a decision here pretty soon, or if they want to take some spring visits or maybe even an official visit in June. But right now, South Carolina's in it very strongly. Got a great chance in this particular case. Defensive end Anthony Addison, 6'3", 215 of Sumter. Prime target for USC in the 25 class. And he'll return to USC for a junior day Saturday. Give him a chance to talk more detail with Shane Beamer and Sterling Lucas. He visited last March, was in for a game in November. So he's looking forward to coming back and getting more details about how he would fit in with their defensive scheme, because he said that's all that matters at the end of the day. And he said that he's looking forward to talking more with Shane Beamer and seeing how he would fit into their program should he choose to go to South Carolina, but he's still keeping his options open. He will visit Tennessee next weekend. Florida State's been coming on strong with him. He'd like to visit there as well. Coaches from Tennessee, Florida State, Cincinnati, Charlotte, and Wake Forest have been by the school so far this month. He plans to eventually narrow his focus to a small number of schools and then go from there. He'll be joined on the visit by his 2024 teammate, linebacker Antoine Bracey, 6'1", 215. He had 79 tackles, 9 tackles for loss, and 4 interceptions. My guess is South Carolina might be looking at him from a preferred walk-on standpoint, but we'll wait and see what happens there. Clemson offered linebacker Ty Jackson, 6'2", 200 of Loxahatchee, Florida. USC offered 2027 cornerback Kenton Dobson III of Miami. How about that? 2027. And USC coaches yesterday visited with defensive end Isaiah Gibson of Warner Robins, Georgia. Also, Shane Beamer yesterday saw offensive tackle David Sanders of Charlotte. Former USC commitment defensive end Zay Hardy, who's now at East Mississippi Junior College, tweeted out that he was offered by Mississippi State. He also told us he's still hearing from South Carolina. Don't know how serious that is, but that's what he said. Clemson target defensive end Isaiah Campbell of Durham was offered today by Texas A&M and Ohio State. I think he's visiting Clemson tomorrow. Clemson's supposed to have not tomorrow, Saturday. Why do I think today is Friday? Is it because I slept to noon? Will that make you think it's a Friday? It's
Partly
thrown
because
off
maybe I'm here.
Yeah, that's right.
Normally I'm not
you
here
know
on
what?
Thursday.
That's what it is. You're not here on Thursdays.
Yep.
Anyway, Campbell's supposed to visit Clemson. They're supposed to have like 25 or so in. A lot of offensive linemen coming in for Clemson, like 7 offensive linemen coming in for their junior day. Rock Hill receiver Malik Clark was offered by Virginia Tech. Sumter defensive end Anthony Addison, more on him. He was offered by James Madison. Camden defensive back Jordan Krim, offered by Appalachian State. The Creme de la Creme. How about that? That'd be a good little branding name.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
I'm the Creme de la Creme. I'll sell that to him.
There you go.
2026 offensive tackle Anthony Baxter of South Point was offered by Duke and Virginia Tech. 2026 receiver Jordan Gidron of Ridgeview was offered by Georgia Tech and Appalachian State. Miami coaches were in yesterday to see Clemson and USC target safety Jonte Gilbert from Atlanta. Gilbert supposed to visit USC this weekend. And Georgia coaches were in on Wednesday to see major Clemson target defensive end Bryce Davis of Greensboro, North Carolina. And one more visiting South Carolina this weekend will be defensive end Jared Smith. Jared Smith out of Alabaster. Oh, yeah. He's one of those Alabasters Comes from that great Thompson High program in Alabaster, you Alabaster. 6'6", 230, visiting South Carolina this weekend. And then next weekend, he is scheduled to visit Florida. But there you go with the recruiting report for tonight.
And Phil, Ryan Montgomery, I found his stats here. For last year, his 2023 stats were 3,377 passing yards, 71% passing percentage, 38 passing touchdowns. Wow, and 10 rushing touchdowns. He broke Ben Roethlisberger's school record for passing yards in a single game with 491 yards. So you must have been looking at the career stats. Either way, impressive. Also, you may have already mentioned this, so I might be repeating this, but his older brother was one of the top offensive line recruits in the class of 2023 who signed and is now at Ohio State.
Yeah. Yeah, when I think about it, 7,500 yards in a season, Chris, that's a bit much.
Yeah, that would be.
That would be.
And like I said, it would make sense if they were going to put all their eggs in that basket. I want him too.
What bothers me is that I read it and didn't think twice about it until I thought twice about it.
That's like 700 yards a game.
89 touchdowns in a season. All right, we need to take a break, and I got to drink more of my coffee, and then we'll come back, and we can take some phone calls to wrap it up. 888-898-2525 is our phone number. We had planned to have Ben Portnoy with us at the bottom of the hour, but we missed out with Ben tonight. We'll get him another night, and we'll be back after this break right here on Sports Talk. Don't go away.
Last year was a big year for Founders Federal Credit Union and our amazing members. A total of $30 million was given back to qualifying members in the form of loyalty bonus dividends, proving once again that it pays to be a Founders member. Founders is also committed to pouring time and resources into the local communities we serve. If you aren't a member yet, what are you waiting for? Join Founders today. Visit foundersfcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Membership qualification required.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, this is Lisa Hosteller-Brown. Do you know the difference between a revocable trust and an irrevocable trust? The difference can easily save you hundreds of thousands of dollars in long-term care costs. Visit lawyerlisa.com to schedule a consultation today.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
Daddy, you need trust.
Hi, yes, I'll have the club sandwich and house salad.
You got it, sweetie. I'll throw in a pair of designer sunglasses as well.
Just lunch, thanks.
How about a week at my boss's oceanfront villa?
What?
When you join the South Carolina Education Lottery's Players Club, you get way more than you expect. More chances, more wins, and more surprises.
Today's special, a trip to low Earth orbit in a private spaceship.
Join the Players Club at seeducationlottery.com because more happens here.
George Bryan here with Tsunami Bar Sports, and wow, Tsunami Robbie, there is now an amazing technology that you can use when you train receiving large game without having to endure pain. Please explain.
George, that is the magic combination. I have three simple words to define that entire concept. Stimulation, not annihilation. Regardless of your training goals, there is a level of stimulation that is optimal for your desired gains. Tsunami Bar's flexible bar technology meets these demands because the user determines the level of stimulation with the amount of speed and force they impart into the bar or training device.
Hey, this is Phil Kornblut. The Tsunami Bar is a terrific training device, whether you're working on your fitness or your golf game. It's convenient, it's easy to use, and you won't feel beat up afterwards. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait, order today.
Touchstone Energy cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through co-op connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
I guess we should give a prediction. I mean, this game's kind of taken on the dimensions of a football type game, right? So much talk about it. Kind of like when the Gamecocks played Connecticut, and will play Connecticut again. Or when they played Tennessee back when Tennessee was really good.
Right.
So I think I'll go with South Carolina winning this thing. I think they'll play some really good defense.
Agreed.
But LSU will play some good defense, but I think South Carolina will score a bunch of second chance points, a bunch in the paint, and knock down some threes. So let's go with the Gamecocks winning this thing 76-64. 76-64. What you got?
I was thinking somewhere in the neighborhood of 80-70 USC. I think one thing about Carolina, what they've done this year when they faced the best, they've been at their best. I mean, their 4 wins over ranked opponents have come by an average of 21 points a game. I mean, it's almost unfathomable what they've been able to do when they've been challenged. And I think LSU playing at home, they'll come out and give a tremendous effort. And they're a really good basketball team, but I just don't think they're, as I mentioned earlier, this is as complete a team as I think Dawn Staley may have ever had at USC, because they can shoot it from the outside. They can certainly pass it inside. They can play great defense. They can get out and run in transition. I just don't think LSU can match up with that for 40 minutes. They might be able to for 20 or even 30. But I think the depth of USC over the long haul will do what it's done all season long. It just ultimately wear the opponent out.
Yep. I just saw a tweet from Magic Johnson. He said he's getting his popcorn, getting ready to sit back and watch this game tonight. I guess this is, of course, I think the Celtics and the Heat are playing tonight, but might be the big sporting event of the night in the United States.
You'd be hard-pressed to find too many others. Yeah.
It's impressive. And looking at this looks like Mulkey told media members earlier this week that she's not sure who her team's rival is. I guess folks were trying to pin these two against each other. But I did not realize South Carolina, if I'm reading this right, has won the last 14 meetings between the teams going back 12 seasons. So, yeah, it's hard to make that a rivalry. And, again, I think the guard play is what's really going to decide it tonight. Between Haley Van Lith, Michaela Williams, the two of them are going to have to play really, really well tonight. They're going to have to stay hot as they've been the last couple of games for the Tigers in order to keep the Gamecock defense honest against Angel Reese. If the LSU guards struggle on the perimeter, if they're not hitting those outside shots and Dawn Staley's able to have her defense kind of suck down into the paint, well, then that's going to be an easy win for the Gamecocks. Yep. But if those guards for the Tigers are able to hit some outside shots early and really keep that Gamecock defense honest, then this game might go all 4 quarters, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Gamecocks is close for 3, and then the Gamecocks pull away and win by double digits in the 4th. I also think Malaysia Full-Wiley, shout out Magic Johnson. It sounds like he's a big fan of hers. I think she's going to have a big game tonight as well.
Well, if I can help the USC women in my own little way, I can do for them what I did for them earlier in the season and talk about their free throw shooting and say that, they've really got to pick it up shooting free throws in these big games. I said that earlier in the year, and what they do, they knock down almost every free throw. I put the reverse psychological whammy on them. So I'm trying to find where they are now in free throw shooting as a team and see if they have picked up those numbers a little bit and see if I need to give them the reverse psychological whammy to help them at all. Let's see, as a team, well, they're still only shooting 63%. In all games, 63%. I think maybe if I can find SEC numbers here real quick, they might be shooting a little bit better in SEC games alone. But yeah, they need to shoot free throws at a higher clip. They've been doing that ever since I put the reverse jamma whamma on them. So we'll see what happens tonight. Quick update: Charleston playing at Hampton, 43-39 at the break. So let's welcome in Sam from Charleston, Cougars, #1 fan. It's your city, Sam. We're only there to visit. It's your city. Welcome in.
Well, first of all, Pat, Cornbread, the crazy guy over there. I hope you guys are doing well.
Chris. He goes by crazy guy.
Hey,
love it.
Hey, I want to get your perspective on something real quick. So I just heard we have a 2 losing streak against Townsend. And who's the other one you lost to?
Wilmington.
Well, actually, I just let you guys know that UNCW is a very tough team to beat this year for my team this year. Because, sorry, I'll put it this way. UNCW is a very hard team to beat this year. If you look back since, like, I think it was 2018, 2019 basketball season when Coach Earl Grant was coach, and we went to the North Charleston Coliseum. I was there to see that. And I'll tell you what, we had a great team that year. But this coach, Pat Kelsey, you know what he said? This is our city.
Whose city?
We are the holy city.
Whose city is it, Sam? Whose city? It's the
This
Citadel.
is my
It's the Citadel City, right?
Well, we can share it, but not too much. But I just hit. What is? Do you guys remember last year we had that watch party for the college for the NCAA tournament bid?
Yes.
So here's my perspective on this year's watch party.
Are you already planning a watch party?
Better
Well,
win some
no,
games.
I went to the TD Arena. Duh. So what is your perspective on a couple of things? I was at the TD Arena the last home game, and here's what I don't get. I was trying to get a hot dog and Coke. They don't accept cash.
Oh,
why did
really?
they carry no cash at all instead of credit cards? Can you explain that to me?
Well, a lot of the world's gone cashless, just like the people. A lot of the businesses have gone cashless. Of course, people don't have cash either. So I guess it's a way to economize how they do their business, make it, cleaner, neater. I mean, I know a man like you, Sam, like carry. I'm not going to say this publicly. I don't want anybody out there to, try to find you and rob you. But I mean, you're flush with cash. You're walking around loaded with cash.
Actually, Phil, I want to add a comment real quick, but I don't take up your time. But this has been going. I'm trying to be careful, and I've been a bragger, but they need to stop having credit cards at the arena. I don't have a credit card right now. Here's the main problem. Why is that the College of Charleston with the credit card? That's I don't get. Is Matt Roberts going to do something about this? Because I'm not liking that. Can you explain that to me?
Let me give him a call. And thank you, Sam. We got to go.
Might be security reasons though too. That way you don't have to transfer a lot of cash after a game and stay at downtown arena.
You ever seen the movie The Town?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you don't want to be the town and have what happened to the Red Sox happen to you there. But I mean that really is the way of the world now, right? Not too many people do transactions at these places with cash anymore.
No, I mean, you go through airports now, and very few of them, if any, take cash anymore. It's all cashless service. I mean, it's the wave of the future.
But Sam and the Rockefellers and folks like that, they're used to carrying wads of cash in their pockets, and they want to use the currency, the American green. That's going to do it. Chris, we'll see you tomorrow night.
Yes, sir. Look forward to it.
Thank you, Pat. Great job. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. Have a great night. We'll see how that game turns out and talk about it tomorrow. Take care. See you tomorrow.